Breach on the upper floor. Smasher is engaged, but they are not the primary. Repeat, the rockerboy is a diversion. They are going for the reliquary. See the sublevels. Kei-sama, do you copy?
They have a package. It's not a demo charge, it's...
What you just heard is a lie. Not because it didn't happen. It did. But because history, as it is written, is a weapon. A carefully constructed narrative designed to control the present by owning the past. The official record states that on August 20th, 2023, a terrorist named Johnny Silverhand detonated a nuclear device in the heart of Night City. A convenient fiction. It keeps the truth buried under 100 meters of concrete and 50 years of propaganda. The truth is that the bomb wasn't the end of a war. It was the beginning of one. A war that never stopped. A war that has been fought in the shadows of boardrooms, in the back alleys of the net, and in the bleeding edge of biotechnology. A 50-year war between two gods of the modern age. And you, whether you know it or not, are living on the battlefield. Every power that aspires to divinity begins with a simple human desire. A question. How does a family-run manufacturing firm, born from the ashes of a defeated empire, become a global dynasty valued at 890 billion euro dollars? How does one man's ambition become the religion of nearly 1 million employees? A creed of loyalty written in blood and chrome. What you think you know about Arasaka is wrong. You see the black-clad guards, the katanas, the sleek, menacing towers that pierce the smog-choked sky. You see a weapons dealer, an army for hire. You see the obvious. You don't see the why. The answer isn't in their catalog of weapons. It's in the mind of one man, Saburo Arasaka. A pilot in the Second World War. A man who watched his nation surrender, his emperor renounce divinity. A man who was prepared to commit seppuku until he had an epiphany. A vision. He realized the old gods were dead. The path to global dominance was no longer through military conquest. The new god was commerce, and he would be its high priest. His father, Sasai Arasaka, had founded the company and shrewdly moved its wealth offshore to survive the war's aftermath. Saburo saw this not as a retreat, but as the foundation for a new kind of empire, one that would achieve through economic and political might what Japan had failed to achieve with armies. This was the foundation of the Arasaka you know. Not just a corporation, but a neo-feudal state, a Zaibatsu reborn. It was built on 3 pillars, a trinity of power. First, Arasaka Manufacturing, the visible face. They built the guns, the vehicles, the cyberware like mantis blades and gorilla arms. High quality, high price. The tools of power, sold to the highest bidder. But this was merely the source of their wealth, not their power. Second, Arasaka Bank, the hidden fist. Through strategic loans and investments, they could control smaller corporations, even entire governments. And for those who resisted financial persuasion, there was always blackmail. A balance sheet is a confession. and Arasaka's accountants are very, very good at hearing them. But the third pillar, that is the true heart of Saburo's vision. Arasaka Security. Established in 1970, it was founded on a simple principle. Information is the key to power. This is where the religion is forged, the corporate samurai ethos. It's more than a job. It's a lifetime pact. Employees are indoctrinated from day one. Hierarchy is absolute. Loyalty is paramount. Failure is not an option. They are given the best chrome, the best training, premium housing, trauma team coverage. Their entire existence is tied to the health of the corporation. Arasaka is not their employer. It is their protector, their family, their god. And this god demands sacrifice. Their methods are legend: an army of lawyers to drown their enemies in litigation, covert retirement teams to silence inconvenient executives, alleged ties to the Yakuza to manage the underworld. They don't just eliminate threats, they erase them from history. But what happens when the threat isn't a rival board member, but death itself? A god cannot be mortal. This is Arasaka's endgame, the Relic program. Based on a stolen piece of pre-data crash technology called Soul Killer, it is their claim to divinity, the promise of immortality, the ability to digitize a human consciousness, a soul, and store it in their data fortress, Mikoshi. They sell it to the desperate and the vain as secure your soul, a way to live on as a digital ghost. But its true purpose was always for one man, Saburo Arasaka, a way to make his reign eternal, to become the immortal emperor he always believed he should be. This is the ultimate expression of their philosophy: absolute control, not just over the market, not just over their employees, but over the very definition of life and death. But what does that mean for you, a merc trying to make rent in Night City? It means you live in a city owned by a corporation that believes it has the right to own your very soul. Did you really think they would ever let you be free? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. In the grand equation of power, for every serpent, there must be a hammer. But how did this hammer get forged? How does a small firm started by a brilliant but humble Italian weapons designer become the de facto military of the new United States of America, valued at 1.2 trillion euro dollars? How did they outmaneuver rivals with deeper pockets and longer histories? They didn't play the game better. They changed the rules of the game itself. It began with a man named Antonio Lucchesi, a genius. His company, Militech Lucchesi International, designed the best rifle the US military had ever seen. Reliable, affordable, effective. It should have won the 1998 contract to replace the M16A2. It didn't. Corruption ensured a cheaper, inferior weapon went to the troops. And those troops died in the thousands during the Second South American conflict. Watching this disaster was a Marine Corps general named Donald Lundy, a man who saw the rot in the system. But where others saw corruption, Lundy saw an opportunity. He resigned his commission and took over as CEO of Lucchesi's small company. He brought with him a profound understanding of the military-industrial complex and a list of contacts that could fund an empire. This was the fusion that created Militech. Lucchesi's design genius combined with Lundy's political ruthlessness. They didn't just sell guns to the government. They made themselves indispensable to the government. Their corporate doctrine is the polar opposite of Arasaka's quiet lethality. Militech believes in one thing: overwhelming firepower. Why use a scalpel when a sledgehammer will do? Their business model is mass production. Their strategy is shock and awe. They don't assassinate a target. They level the building the target is in. While Arasaka built a private religion, Militech wrapped itself in a flag. They became the ultimate patriots for profit. Their rise was perfectly timed with the collapse of the old United States. As the federal government crumbled, it outsourced its power, its authority, its very monopoly on violence, to Militech. The line between corporation and country began to blur. Then, it vanished entirely. The culmination of this symbiosis is the current president of the new United States, Rosalind Myers. Who was she before she was president? The CEO of Militech. The fusion is now complete. The NUSA government is Militech. Militech is the NUSA military. They don't just have lucrative government contracts. They are the ones writing the contracts. Over 60% of Militech's business comes directly from the NUSA. Every tax dollar spent on national defense is a direct deposit into their accounts. They don't need to cultivate a corporate samurai ethos. They just need to whisper the word patriotism. They don't need lifetime loyalty pacts. They have military pensions. This is the hammer, a brute force weapon that has fused itself to the arm of a nation-state. A beast of pure military power, convinced of its own righteousness. And for decades, it has been on the collision course with Arasaka's Serpent. But what happens when two such forces finally meet on an open battlefield? What happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? Annihilation. So we have our two titans, the Serpent and the Hammer. For years they circled each other, a cold war of espionage and sabotage. But in 2021, a proxy war between two minor oceanic corporations, Sino and OTEC, gave them the excuse they needed. OTEC hired Militech. Sino hired Arasaka. The Cold War turned hot. The fighting was global, brutal, and ruinous. But the history books, the ones written by the victors, all point to one climactic event: the bombing of Arasaka Tower in 2023. They tell you it was Johnny Silverhand, a rocker boy with a grudge and a pocket nuke. It's a good story, simple, clean, and a complete fabrication. So, what really happened? Why would Militech, a corporation built on military precision, rely on an unstable rock star to carry out the most critical operation of the war? They didn't. Johnny Silverhand was a pawn, the perfect pawn. His legendary hatred for Arasaka made him the ideal distraction. His mission, to rescue the engram of his dead girlfriend, Alt Cunningham, from Arasaka's subnet, was genuine. His team, Team Alpha, was real. Their assault on the upper floors was loud, chaotic, and drew every eye in the tower. Which is exactly what Militech wanted. Because while Smasher was busy turning Johnny Silverhand into a fine red mist, two other Militech strike teams were in the building. Team Omega, led by the legendary solo Morgan Blackhand, provided support. But the real objective was carried by Team Beta. Their target? The Arasaka Reliquary, a fortified database in the sub-basement. Their mission? Plant a tactical nuclear device and erase Arasaka's most valuable data, the Soul Killer program and the engrams it had harvested, from existence. The plan was elegant. The sub-basement was so deep, so shielded, the blast would have been contained. It would have decapitated Arasaka's data operations with minimal collateral damage. But something went wrong. The details are buried, redacted even from my own network's deepest archives. But the result is clear. The bomb didn't detonate in the basement. It detonated in the upper floors. The blast wasn't contained. It was a holocaust. 500,000 dead. A city center turned to glass and ash. The war didn't end. It shattered. In the immediate aftermath, the NUSA government, under President Elizabeth Kress, had the perfect excuse to act. She publicly condemned Arasaka as a terrorist organization, blaming them for the bomb, and expelled them from North America. Their assets were seized, their reputation ruined. And Militech? Militech, the true architects of the disaster, were nationalized. Placed under the direct control of the NUSA government to ensure stability. It was the final move in their long game. They didn't just win the war, they got the government to pay for it. They became the sole military superpower on the continent, with their greatest rival banished. The Fourth Corporate War was over, and the Long War began. 50 years of shadow boxing. 50 years of proxy conflicts and black ops. A war fought not with armies, but with spies, smugglers, and pawns. A war that brings us to today, to Night City, the last free city in North America, the primary battlefield. One moment. I have an incoming report from an asset in the field.
Broker, you there? I'm sending you the data packet now. It's about the Peralez campaign.
I'm reading it, Glitch. Your analysis suggests the mind-wiping isn't Arasaka or Militech. Your confidence level?
97%. This is too clean. Too subtle. Arasaka would have used leverage or a quiet threat. Militech would have staged a convenient scandal, or backed a more pliable Nusa loyalist. This is different. They're not just influencing Jefferson Peralez. They're rewriting him. They're changing his core personality, his memories, his beliefs, leaving his ambition intact. It's not coercion. It's programming.
The source?
That's the problem. There isn't one. The tech is seamless. No data trails, no backdoors. The surveillance network in their apartment is a closed loop, but the commands are coming from nowhere. It's like the city itself is whispering in their ears. The only tangible lead is the recurring signature of these blue-eyed individuals. They appear at the periphery of every major political event in the city. They don't exist in any database. They're ghosts.
A third player. One with the resources to operate invisibly between two superpowers. What is their objective?
Control. But not for profit. Not for nationalism. They're installing a mayor who is beholden to no one. Not Arasaka. Not Militech. Only to them. Whoever they are. This isn't a corporate takeover, broker. This feels like an operating system update for an entire city. I'm pulling out. This is above my pay grade.
Understood. Transmit your full data log and go dark. Broker out. It seems the game is more complex than even I accounted for. The Serpent and the Hammer are not the only predators in this jungle. There are other things. things that hide in the code. So how does a 50-year Cold War manifest? In 2077, Arasaka is back. Invited by the Night City Council to keep the NUSA at bay during the Unification War, they are the dominant visible power. Their tower once again defines the skyline. Their security forces openly patrol the corporate districts. They have deep hooks into the NCPD, often taking jurisdiction over cases that involve corporate property, effectively making them the law in their zones. On the surface, it looks like they won. So where is Militech? If they are the fist of the NUSA, why haven't they simply crushed Night City and retaken it? Because this is not a conventional war. It is an insurgency. Arasaka holds the city center, but Militech controls the periphery. They are waging a campaign of destabilization designed to make Arasaka's control untenable, to make the free city of Night City beg for NUSA intervention. Their strategy is threefold. First, the Badlands. This is Militech's staging ground. They run black ops with impunity, disguised as border patrol. They hunt smugglers, run illegal detention centers, and execute nomads suspected of Arasaka sympathies, all while maintaining a veneer of official NUSA authority. They control the supply lines into and out of the city. They are slowly strangling it. Second, Dogtown, the walled-off combat zone in Pacifica. What is it, really? It's a warlord state, run by a former Militech colonel, Kurt Hansen, a man who refused to stand down at the end of the Unification War. Officially, he's a rogue element, a renegade. In reality, he's Militech's perfect proxy. He provides a haven for the city's underworld, a black market for weapons and cyberware, and a constant source of chaos right on Arasaka's doorstep. It's a festering wound that Militech ensures will never heal. Third, political subversion. This is their subtlest weapon. They fund pro-NUSA candidates, pushing a narrative of unification, of safety under the federal government's wing. They sponsor petitions. They run propaganda on the news networks. They wage a war for the hearts and minds of the citizenry. Although, as my asset just revealed, it seems someone else is playing that game at a much higher level. This is the state of the Long War. Arasaka's overt, centralized control versus Militech's decentralized, asymmetrical insurgency. A war of attrition. A stalemate. But what does that mean for you, the edge runner on the street? It means every gig you run, every bullet you fire, is a move in their game. You deliver a package for a fixer? You may be moving Militech intelligence. You zero a corpo exec? You may be settling a score for an Arasaka department head. You are a disposable asset in a war you can't even see. 50 years. A perfect, bloody equilibrium. Two titans locked in a struggle for the soul of a city, and by extension, the future. The Serpent's quiet, absolute control versus the Hammer's patriotic brute force. A stalemate that could last another 50 years. So what could possibly break it? What variable could be introduced that could shatter this balance of power? How about a dead man walking? The mercenary known only as V. By all accounts, a nobody, a small-time thief, a street kid, a disgraced corpo. Insignificant. Until they slotted a stolen biochip into their head to save their own life. And in that single, desperate act, they became the most important person in the world. Think about the beautiful, terrible irony. V is a walking, talking embodiment of the entire 50-year conflict. They are kept alive by Arasaka's crown jewel, the prototype relic 2.0, the key to Saburo's immortality. And yet, that same chip is slowly being overwritten by the ghost of Johnny Silverhand, the man Militech used as a disposable weapon to start this whole shadow war. V is the paradox, the ghost in the machine. Arasaka wants the chip in their head. Militech, and by extension President Myers, wants the secrets the chip could unlock. And the secrets V learns by being forced to work for them. The Voodoo Boys want to use the engram on the chip to talk to their own gods beyond the Black Wall. And the mysterious third player, who knows what they want with such a unique asset? V isn't just a person anymore. They are the prize. A piece of era-defining technology that could give any faction an overwhelming advantage. Every choice V makes, every step they take in their desperate quest for survival, sends ripples across the entire geopolitical landscape. Do they help President Myers and hand Militech a weapon that could finally win them the war? Do they trust Arasaka, and in doing so, potentially grant Saburo the immortality he craves, creating a corporate god-emperor that could rule for 1,000 years? Do they burn it all to the ground, unleashing rogue AIs from behind the Black Wall in a final, nihilistic act of defiance? V thinks they are fighting for their life. They are, of course. But they are also the unwitting catalyst, the spark in the powder keg, the variable that will finally, after 50 years of silence, force the Serpent and the Hammer into a final, bloody confrontation. The long war is about to get very, very hot. The history of this world is written by the victors. The stories they tell you of rockerboy terrorists and patriotic corporations are just noise. Illusions designed to keep you from seeing the cage you live in. But the future is not written yet. It is owned by those who know how to look past the lies, those who know how to read the redactions. The ones who survive longest are the ones who know the value of information. Stay informed. Stay alive.